meeting.
You have an agenda?
We have some speakers tonight, and then we'll have our council business and all those stuff. That's all the board members, just go around the room and introduce yourself and your district. Oh, sorry. Please rise for the pledge.
Of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, be seated. With that, I'll just start here on the right. Go around, I'm Bill Brown, the newly elected president, so this is my cool. If I stumble through it, apologize, but we'll get better as we go along.
Very eloquent, the past president. Marilyn Mamano, also a past president, but chair of committees.
Dennis Omer, also a past president, and I'm the council historian.
Nessa Pothiker, I'm the District 4 representative.
Carlos Lang, treasurer.
Karen, sorry. Karen Palifka, District 1 representative.
Susie Burstein, recording secretary.
Frankie Lane, District 3 representative.
Michael Albetta, second vice president.
Jim Concanon, the trying to retire.
Who's gonna do the rest?
Again, welcome, to keep the things moving along, to ask Chief Schultz to come up and his neighborhood team. I asked some senior leadership because some of you have spoken about, and I know in the CBA meetings, and I think in some of the other neighborhoods, there's a sense that there's a lack of public information on certain types of crimes and the transparency of reporting it in the media. So he's going to hear talk about certain things that what, please feel free, I'm explaining it right of how I've heard some of the things. Express your concerns that you hear from your neighborhoods about, and the people about, if you see them, they feel that there is a lack of transparency on certain crimes that don't get. You can talk about whatever you want to.
All right, very good. Good evening, everyone. Of course, I'll be as brief as I can. We have people much more important than me and our officers that are here tonight that you need to hear from. So I'll start with that because this is a topic that I had not heard, this concern of the neighborhoods. So what I would like tonight, and I have my note takers right here, we're going to get specifics and we're going to get back to you. I will tell you this, I was a PIO. I started with the department in 2001 and almost immediately entered into the media information realm. I was our full-time PIO for about a year and a half around the 2005 time. And I know how important it is, obviously, to get accurate, correct, and timely information. So the fact that some of you may have concerns, I definitely want to hear that tonight because we will address it. My PIOs know, and we do work very closely with strategic communications in the city. Ashley's office, I think, is fantastic in getting the information out as quickly and accurately as possible. But my PIOs know I absolutely will get the information. I'm sure some of you have seen me. Many times I'll go on camera. I'll be the one interviewing so that I know the information is getting out there correctly and straight from my mouth on the department's reputation. I always will work to get you the information that you need. And Bill did mention that some of it might be on crime trends. So actually, just before I came over here, I had a meeting with Broward Sheriff's Office today, which was fantastic. But then I went back to my office and pulled the most recent crime statistics. So I will tell you, as most of you know, I became chief in late 2023. We went back to 23, towards the end of 23, all of 24 and then what we have currently. So what we're looking at right now is a double-digit reduction in almost every major crime category. And let me just preface that by saying that's, of course, the result of the hard work and dedication of the women and men you see on the street every day, our officers, some of whom are here today, that work tirelessly to not only immediately respond to 911 calls, immediately respond to critical incidents, but then to immediately work to get the suspect in custody. So with that, we've had an overall crime reduction of 10% in our city. Property crimes down 12%, residential burglaries down 13%, business burglaries down 25%. Shooting incidents are down 53% citywide. And the best news, homicides are down 41% in just over a year's time. We have been very aggressive when it comes to gun violence. I'm sure some of you have heard me say this. Our commissioners certainly have heard that was one of my number one goals when I started was we have to reduce the amount of guns on our street that are, a lot of them are in the possession of known felons who have absolutely no business owning guns and certainly no business bringing violence into our city. And then just along those lines, when I took office, we had 50 vacancies. We're down to 19 as of today. That's over a 60%. That's over a 60% improvement of officers that we have on the street. That means quicker response times to you. That means more visibility, more marked units you see on the streets. And overall, that means a safer community. So I wholeheartedly feel Fort Lauderdale is a safer place today than it was a year ago. And that doesn't mean anything. We're not stopping. We have so much more work to do. Every day we have work to do. But a lot of this credit belongs to you. And I know a lot of you in this room, I've been to your meetings. I hear how you instruct your residents properly to pick up a phone and call. If they don't call us, a lot of times we don't know. So the support that you give us is so wholeheartedly part of our success. And I can't thank you enough. And then also the partnership with our community support officers. Again, a couple of them are here today from the various districts that we have. Hopefully, some of you've recognized some faces back there. But they are so important. The community support units that you work with are very important. So if you don't have a regular engagement with them, please do that. Let's have them at your meetings. Let's have them at your events. I think I have an event coming up in Miss Betty's neighborhood this Saturday. This spring fling, so to speak.
Saturday.
All right, I'll be there. So yeah, with that said, I just wanted to give you a basic overall where we were with everything to date. But I'm happy to take your feedback, especially if it relates to the transparency concern or any questions you have for the police department. No questions?
Oh, we do. We do.
Yes.
And this is not, we will not speak of that, we'll be talking about it. There are 4 city commission seats.
Yes.
There are 3 districts. We would like to see we're gonna get together with Bill, of course, the chair, and talk about how and go the most smartest, prudent way of making 4 districts to coincide. And I know it's people power, and I already had a brief.
I looked at her because we've talked about this actually.
Yeah,
And she brought it up in one of the first meetings we had.
it would make sense,
It
the city is
doesn't
growing, all these, population is coming into the city so much. And it would alleviate a lot of tension and stress to the greatest, I think, police department in Florida.
Thank you for saying that.
No, I mean it.
I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree. City manager and I have had that, the past city managers, I've talked about it. It's obviously with us, the main concern is the crime reporting areas, but that can all be changed. And then the other obstacle, not necessarily an obstacle, but what will take some work is radio communications. Everything's based off dispatchers, which are currently out in Sunrise.
Right.
So just working through that, creating, but I wholeheartedly believe we should have 4 districts.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Saw some other hands. Just go, Frankie, we'll just start going around the table.
Definitely. I'm Frankie, representing District 3, which is your northwest section.
Yeah.
I need more visibility. I need policemen to do their job. I don't need you to drive by and throw your hand up. I need for you to stop and say, sir, you're wrong. There are too many vehicles here. I know all the places that sell dope. Why don't you all know?
Hey, we would be happy to have those addresses, absolutely. And you mentioned vehicles, so you're talking about, we have some,
I have some
illegal
homes with 6
garages
cars
or-
in their yard.
okay,
No tags. Just because you put a tarp over it does not make it legal.
right,
You know, I just want them
probably makes it more.
towed away. What I want is to word I'm treat my district like you treat the other districts.
Absolutely.
I don't need you to come through there with kid gloves. You know, that's not a deterrent to crime, not at all. And you know, I just need more visibility.
I assure you,
Everybody rides through with the windows up, tinted windows. But sometimes let your windows down. How you doing, Mr. Frankie? How you doing? Our homeowners president, how you doing? Make a point to stop by their house, blow your horn sometime. Be visible, you know, I just hate straight abhor running down the street 45 miles per hour. That's not a deterrent to crime. Looks to me like you're headed to a coffee break.
I got it. And I will tell you, Officer Washington is here. He will be your point of contact if you have not met.
He's
before.
always been my point of contact, but he's never in my area.
We will
He's on the
absolutely-
beach.
It's on the beach.
Yes,
Well, it was a bit for spring break for sure. A number of them were. We will absolutely talk about that and we will be coming on your meetings.
thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Absolutely.
Who else had a hand?
Hi, Robin Levecourt, 7 Isles. How are you? We have problems in our neighborhood for car theft. And I know I've worked with our community officer with, where's your key fob? But, in 7 Isles, we're close to the beach, we're, in a high traffic area. What has the police been doing for these car theft rings that we know are operating all through the Isles and probably the beach area as well?
So in your area, I think it's not only, well, I know it's not only been car thefts, so we've even had golf cart thefts. We've had numerous garages that have been entered. What we do, and hopefully we can continue to do through, your organization has a newsletter, as I
Yeah, we
recall.
do.
The best thing we can do is communicate to people. You brought up the fobs. Still to this day, and please, everyone remind, never leave your car fob in your car. You can't do that. And continually, a number of these steps, that's what it is. It's, and please know it. And also, you don't lock your car. Many cars, and you watch this on yours, the car, whether the mirrors are, the side mirrors are out or tucked, that's a prime clue for thieves to know whether that's a target. We'll tell whether the fob's in it, we'll tell whether it's unlocked or locked. So that's one thing. Secondly, information. We just need to continually push information out there, because obviously we can't watch every house. What we can do is get information to every house. Hopefully they act on it. In reference, your neighborhood specifically, a lot of area, you also have private security in that
Yes.
area. So just continually getting them to work with our community support to make sure that they're educated on what to look for. Because obviously the company, we're not involved in their training, but we're happy to assist with it. So if you could, with your community support unit, and there's some here today, we can definitely, if you could get you in touch with them to maybe a meeting to get the security guards more educated on the clues to look for, like I just mentioned, that's just a few things.
We can't stop people from coming in, but we.
Right.
Yes. That we do. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there a rule of thumb in terms of what comes out of the PIO office? I mean, I've seen we've captured the murder suspect, we've caught the shooting suspect. But you don't hear about the bicyclist that got run over by the fuel truck or the rumble on the beach last Wednesday that was in the newspaper, but you don't, that's what our neighbors talk about. Is that stuff that they think they hear or they think they know, but we're not quite sure.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, I know some of these are probably smaller crimes, not the, violent ones. But I don't know, sometimes you don't hear about it, you don't read it in the newspaper. Point number two, I really appreciate what your team did during Tortuga with traffic management, because there were traffic officers almost at every corner, directing traffic, and I think it took a lot.
Okay, first point, and you brought up specifically, I think you're talking about the incident, the very sad and tragic incident. It was a few months ago at the corner of Seabreeze and East Los Olas, where a large truck inadvertently ran over a bicyclist. We did put out a press release on that, but that's a prime example of, we can put out a news release. We cannot force, we can ask, we cannot force any media to cover. They pick and choose what they want to cover on their newscast. And that happens time and time again. We will, if it's an incident that we think is going to get some sort of concern from the neighborhood, or it's going to impact the neighborhood in any way, we put the information out. But whether the 4 channels, 2 newspapers, and the various social media cover it, we have no control over it. What we do is we'll put information on our socials and on our website. Now, that would require, though, that people be proactive to go to those to look for it. We can't I really wish we could get the media, and I've tried in all my years to cover everything I want them to cover, but it unfortunately just doesn't happen. Transparency is not just what you hear in the mainstream media. It's also what we're willing to tell you, and I assure you, we're willing to tell you so much. And let me just go back 1 week. We just went through our accreditation assessment and audit. This is a multi-year audit. We just went through it and we just passed it with flying colors. We are the first agency in the state of Florida to have 5 consecutive CFLCA accreditation levels. That speaks volumes, and they review things. One of the things they review is transparency in our policies and procedures and how we portray that to the public and what information we put out about it. And we passed all of it. So I would love to, if you can, give him a card as well. I would love to speak with you more about anything else that you can think of that we can improve. And I'm always open to new ideas.
Thank you. We've got time for one more. Okay, 2 more.
Oh, thank you for sending Elijah Manley downtown. Thanks for sending, support to our communities. A question, I know we were talking about creating a downtown police district. I know I'm hearing from a lot of residents in the area, they like to see that extended south of the river. Is that still a conversation?
So that was, the initial conversations, and this kind of gets back to what Michael was touching on. Those were all preliminary ideas. Before that goes anywhere, it would take a lot more input. We have not had to brief the new city manager on all those past conversations. So this year, we took it off the table of continuing the meetings, pushing out the information until she had the chance to be briefed on what she's felt or heard in the past. But what you saw is certainly, that is not a set in stone plan whatsoever. That was just part of conversation.
You have a question. Perhaps go to Davie Boulevard. There's some down.
And again, that gets to geography and other issues, but we can talk about that.
Just to make a real quick point, because I say thank you guys, because you guys have done a tremendous job in our neighborhood. And I think to Frankie's point, it's developing those communication channels, and sometimes that falls on some of the neighborhoods too. Because with our neighborhood, we were having some challenges, and we kind of developed a communication strategy right with your leadership and our community team, and it's been really effective. And I realized this the other day, like one of our businesses like, oh, the police haven't been responsive. And I was like, what are you calling about? And they said, well, that homeless person behind us. I said, what are you calling? 911. I said, well, that goes to the dispatch. I said, they weren't part of the association. They're going to be part of the association now. And it's that communication, understanding like that, hey, if you work with the association, we have a direct channel to the leadership in our neighborhood at the police, and they will respond almost instantly. But I think there's a disconnect sometimes with the understanding when to call, what number, and that dispatch is not you all. Right. It's got to be vetted to you. And so when I explain that, if you're calling for homeless 911, that's not,
And that's a
typically-
great point, because our city has also gone above and beyond in the ability to report that. In the city's app, the FTL app is actually the best way to report something of that nature. Cause it is documented throughout the entire, from the report to the closeout, it's documented. So that's a good word to get out to the residents.
Yeah, like you guys have done a great job. I think it's just developing those connections and then, and also working with the neighborhoods and the businesses to understand that when to call who and what and when.
I
So
agree.
that's been really effective for us, and we've been really lucky with our team because they've been extremely responsive. I mean, very responsive, so thank you.
Marilyn's gonna be the last question.
And very quickly, I just want to point out that we have a big operational convention center. We have a big event, big boats coming in, and then there's something going on in the beach about.
The cruise ships.
Long story short, I let people talk line. We need to coordinate with the Maryland Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
Somebody's gotta be on the corner directing traffic. It's not them, it's gotta be us because it's our.
And Eisenhower, you.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll take that on board.
got it. Thank you.
Excellent, because I noticed that the other day coming down, like, why is there no Broward County used to be there, not there?
Tourists
Yeah.
who are abandoning their cars and taking their luggage and walking into. the
Oh my
corner.
gosh.
That's how bad it was.
Okay. I got one quick question, the website you said. That you can tell me
The
what it is.
FLPD, yeah, it's the Fort Lauderdale Police official city page. If you go into the public information area, we post all our official news releases. I think it still says press releases. I prefer news release on that page. But then if we don't put an official release out, it would be on our social media. And for that, we have Instagram and Facebook and Twitter/X. We use those three mediums.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, as a tradition, we try to bring each of the. He's no longer vice mayor.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to be here with you, and thank you, Bill, for the invitation to be here. I wanted to congratulate Mary on all of your service, and the board, of course, Bill, all the best as the new chair of the council. Thank you. For those of you that I have not had the pleasure of meeting, and I have met a lot of you over the years, I am Steve Glassman. I'm the District 2 City Commissioner, and I want you to know how much I respect and admire what you guys do on a daily basis. For 7 years, I was the president of the Central Beach Alliance, so I know exactly what it is to be involved on the level that you guys are on, and I know that it's a lot of work, and you do incredible things for your neighborhood. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And I am very respectful and really understand exactly what it is that you're doing. So again, it is my absolute honor and privilege to serve as the District 2 City Commissioner. For those of you that do not know, we go all the way from Oakland Park Boulevard on the Barrier Island all the way to Harbor Drive. We run all the way down Las Olas Boulevard up to Coley Hammock. And then through the spine of our city, besides all of the Las Olas aisles on Las Olas, we also have everything from Middle River Terrace, South Middle River, Lake Ridge Civic Association, and out west, we even have Sailboat Bend Civic Association, we have Flagler Village, we have Mass District, we have Fat Village. So it is a very diverse, the most diverse district of the 4 districts in every shape, way, or form. And it's a challenge and it's a wonderful job to represent that district. For those of you that have not met, Ashley Casasito is my District 2 Outreach Coordinator. I and Erica Franceschi are the District 2 team, and we work very hard every day to make sure that the folks are getting everything that they need in terms of service in our district. So let me just tell you why I feel so proud to represent this district. Not only is it the most diverse district, and I would also be remiss if I didn't say thank you for your service to the chief and to all of the officers that are here. These folks do an amazing job, so thank you. So District Two, I find very dynamic. I find a district that every single day we are engaged with not just our residents and our citizens, but also a lot of people that want to invest in District Two. It is a growing district by leaps and bounds. In fact, we had to lose Poinsettia Heights in the last census over to District One because our district is too large. And you know that those have to be evenly populated, each of the 4 districts. So that was a bit of sadness for us, but that's just the way it is. It's an amazing district with such diverse needs and wants, and it really is, it's very exciting to represent that district on a daily basis. There isn't a day that goes by when we're not engaged with citizens in our district, and as I said, also people that want to move to our district and invest in our district. Some of the highlights over this past year that I'm really very proud of, because our district office is a very active district office. We get right in the ground there and we work with everyone that comes into our office to make sure that whatever project is coming forward to the city, we are going to be very positive that it's the right thing, not just for our district, but for our city. So recently, I don't know how many of you have been there, but if you have not been to Marina Village on A1A, right by the EMR, that is probably the #1 destination in the city now in terms of entertainment. It's a great group of maybe 8 kiosks. Great food, and people just go and they sit on that renovated ferry from Fisher Island. It's a great place to hang out. It's hugely popular, successful, and bringing in a lot of revenue, parking revenue, across the street at the parking lot, which for many, many years was really not very much used, especially daytime and nighttime. And now it is a big revenue generator. Again, if you haven't been to Marina Village, please do. Across the street from the Swimming Hall of Fame is DC Alexander Park. Families are really enjoying it. It's a great playground situation. They've taken that land that was deeded to the city, a really cool walkway and overlook over the ocean, and also to the west of the Intracoastal. It's become a very popular open space on the beach. So that's DC Alexander Park. Across the street from DC Alexander Park, the International Swimming Hall of Fame. As you almost know, we have spent about $50 million in CRA money. We've redone the pool, we have the amazing high dive tower, and now there's a public-private partnership that's come forward to do a new building on the east and a new building on the west. The building on the west has already been, those teeth chattering there? I'm
Yes.
sorry, Mary's teeth were chattering. Are you cold? Are you
No.
cold? Okay. We can get you a sweater if you like. No, you're okay. Anyway. Anyway, that project will replace the building on the west that was demolished. In that building will also be Fort Lauderdale's first ever aquarium. I'm hoping it will be as good, if not better, as the one in Boston, which is around the country. And then also on the east side, there'll be a new visitor center, a new entrance to that Swimming Hall of Fame peninsula, and that will wrap up that peninsula. Las Olas Marina. It opened in time for the recent boat show, not fully, but it did open. That was all just an asphalt parking lot just to the north of the Las Olas Garage, which is also getting busier at this moment. But we took all of that asphalt, dredged it all out, and extended the marina right up to Birch Road, which basically has been amazing for all of those buildings along Birch Road. They are right on the marina now. It's 84 mega yacht slips. And April 29, I believe, is the opening of Ocean Prime Restaurant there. There'll also be another restaurant, but that marina is beautiful. The landscaping that's been done around there is beautiful. It's tying into all of the Las Olas corridor improvements. Those were the last projects that were done in the beach CRA before its sunset. Actually, one other was the streetscape project on A1A, which was allowed to continue after the CRA sunset. But that's the last of the beach CRA projects. A great CRA for 30 years, and it really did achieve its goal from what it started at 30 years ago. But the marina, once Ocean Prime opens, there'll be another restaurant, and then that will pretty much be done. Just a few little finishing touches, some traffic issues, but it's really going to be a very popular spot. War Memorial Auditorium in Holiday Park. Holiday Park is District 2's signature park. Each district has a signature park. Carter Park, Tunneltop Park, Holiday Park, and Lockhart Park. Those are the 4 district signature parks. So in Holiday Park, we've been working very, very hard to bring a lot of amenities to that park. War Memorial Auditorium was falling apart. It was losing over $1 million a year. The city had an opportunity to partner with the Florida Panthers. That's become a very successful public-private partnership. How many of you have been in War Memorial Auditorium? Hopefully most. They have done a stunning job with that renovation. They've kept the bones of that building, which is very important to me. I'm a historic preservationist. I made sure that the entire exterior was preserved. But what they've done inside is really incredible. And then, of course, they added Fort Lauderdale's first ice rinks. We never had ice rinks in Fort Lauderdale, and now we have two. One for the team to train and one for the public to use and enjoy on the other side of the Aud. That's a great little complex. The Federal is very popular. But in the park, we're also adding millions and millions of dollars of improvements, landscaping, trails. We're gonna add 9 more pickleball courts to the 6 that are already there. There is a desperate need for more there because those 6 courts are booked solid all day, all night, past midnight. People are just there all the time, and I hear from them all the time how they want to have an opportunity to have more playing time. So we're gonna be doing that. We're gonna be really beefing up the children's playground area and doing some really nice improvements, hopefully also with a nice crosswalk on Federal so that we can connect to what's gonna happen across the street at Searstown. But the Aud, the Baptist Iceplex are really incredible projects. Right now, on the horizon, that I'm working with several people, we have to get some better parking in that park. We're gonna work on a garage. Some neat project ideas are coming forward to us, probably in the form again of a unsolicited proposal, public-private partnership, and we'll get to work on that to finish that off for Holiday Park. So what do I see going forward? First of all, I want to congratulate Raquel Williams, who's in the room with you and will be speaking to you this evening. We went over 2.5 hours and we talked about everything. And I was so very impressed. And I know that we are happy and excited and eager to have her. She's going to be an incredible city manager. And I'm really looking forward to all of her work and everything that she's going to bring to the city. Very talented woman. And I just wanted to say welcome, and I'm glad she's going to be speaking with you tonight. I know that from my perspective, I really want to make sure that she can dig in deep. 2 big things coming up that I see really important. The tunnel versus the bridge for the crossing. And I know she's going to get to work on that because the city commission is very, very dedicated to making sure that that is a tunnel that we see for that option. And we'll be hopefully meeting with the county commission soon in a joint meeting, but right now staff is working all that out. We talked about the resolution the other night, if you saw the commission meeting, and we are going to really make sure that we do the right thing for all of those neighborhoods in that area. Also, we have to do a new city hall. That's going to be a big project that she's going to have to deal with. The city commission has pretty much said we want it in the same spot. We pretty much come to that conclusion. We have a call out, I don't know if it's closed yet, for a city rep, an owner's rep. Did that close? It closed?
It's closed.
Okay, good. It's closed. So hopefully we'll have a city rep, an owner's rep that's gonna represent all of the city's interests as we move forward on that project. Those are big projects for us. I will also tell you that you all know, I don't have to tell this group what the goals are from our prioritization workshop. Infrastructure will always be a priority. When I was first elected in 2018, that was the reason that many of us were elected that year, because for so many years, while this city was growing and developing, we just were not paying attention to what was underneath the ground. We were not paying attention to anything to do with water, wastewater, and stormwater. That is changing. You know, we've committed a lot of money to make sure that that changes throughout the city. Unfortunately, we can't do all that work at once, or else the entire city would be ripped up at once, and we probably couldn't afford it all at once either. So you know that's all happening in tranches, and you know, I don't have to tell this group the order of the neighborhoods and all the neighborhoods that are getting addressed when it comes to infrastructure. That will always be a main priority. That will never go away, because as long as we continue to grow, we're gonna have to be cognizant of that need. And then the affordable housing issue. Housing affordability will always be an issue. And we probably, and I don't say probably, we more than any other city in Broward County really has more to do with housing affordability. We have accomplished more in that realm than any other city in the county. Just like we, more than any other city by far, spend the resources, have the police officers to deal with the homelessness issue. That is probably the number one email that we get in our office is dealing with homelessness issues, whether it's in residential neighborhoods or whether it's in commercial corridors like the Gateway Shopping Center. That's what we hear the most. And I'm very proud of actually all of the efforts. Chris was here, he's still there. Chris Cooper has done an amazing job. He reports out to us. His team, yes, our homeless. That's a challenge that I don't think, just like infrastructure, will ever go away. I don't think it will ever be gone one day. It's just something that we have to be able to manage, stay on top of, and make sure that we don't get to the point where so many other cities in our country have just been taken over by this issue. That's not going to happen in Fort Lauderdale. So I'm very proud of the work that happens there. I know that we also have a homelessness task force, housing affordability. We have a lot of people working on this issue. And I'm very pleased with the work that they do report out to us at all of the commission meetings. I will also tell you one other issue that I think we're gonna have to talk about seriously. As I mentioned earlier, the Beach CRA sunset, those projects were wrapped up. I will tell you that I think that we have had the beginning of a serious conversation with regard to the Northwest, Flagler Village, Progresso Village, CRA, but we have to have a serious discussion about that because at some point in time, we have to realize that those $11-12 million that come out of the general fund for that one CRA, that's a lot of services that we could have. People want more police, people want more fire, people want everything, but then people, how do you pay for all of that? So we have to have a good discussion about that. At the goal setting workshop, the city commission came to a consensus where we would sort of ask for an extension of the CRA, because that Northwest CRA sunsets in November. We did already set up another agency, but they're still waiting for their 501c3 for that to happen, for that agency that we created. Is it called Enterprise Fort Lauderdale, something like that? I think Enterprise. Invest Fort Lauderdale, thank you. So we did create that agency about 5 years ago, but it needs to get up and running because we have to figure out how we are going to pay for all of these things we're going to need. And at the same time, because people just seem to like that millage rate the same for the last 18 years. So if we're not gonna raise the millage rate, we have to figure something out. You know, it's not rocket science. You need to have the money to pay for everything you want, especially if you're growing. But the city commission did come to a consensus that we would extend the CRA, at least we would ask to extend the CRA. None of the other agencies will contribute, it will just be our contribution. But instead of the $11 or $12 million that we typically take out of the general operating for that CRA, we capped it at $5 million. But we also made the agreement that we will revisit that every 2 years. And that still has to be vetted by the Budget Advisory Board. That will come to us, as you know, we will finalize our budget in September. Right now, we're gonna be, I think we have a joint meeting with the Budget Advisory Board this week, which is great, next week. So that's gonna be when things really start to get heated up because we really have to make some decisions and some hard decisions. Those are the highlights that I can think of. I'm happy to, I know that you have a very full agenda. If there are any questions that I can help you with or something that I did not talk about, trust me, any of the district presidents and folks in this room that know that I come to their meetings a lot, I could just go on for a moment. There's a lot going on in our city. I am very proud to serve this city. I travel a lot. This is an amazing city. Do we have our challenges? Of course we do. What city doesn't have challenges? But I am very proud of the way we tackle the challenges. I'm very proud of what has been accomplished in the 7 years that I've sat on the commission. I look forward very much to the next term. I was just recently reelected in November. I really look forward to the next 3 years, 3.5 years actually, because I think we still have so much more to do. Again, thank you for what you do on a daily basis. I really appreciate it. And it's great what you do and what you give back to our city. So thank you. Questions? If not, that's fine. Excellent, very good. All right, coming in. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is our new city manager. But before she speaks, I just want to make a comment. I saw with the selection of the city manager that this council played a very important part of, because we had two members that were directors, Mary Allen, who sat on the selection committee, and Melissa. And that gave a lot of input out. How many members were there? 8? Seven. So we have 2 seats at that 7-person table. So we have an obligation as a council to make sure that our incoming city manager is successful. If she fails, I think this council fails. We fail as a community. We need to be 100% behind her moving forward. If we have issues, we're going to talk through them. You know, she's just one person, and there's 4 members, 4 district commissioners and a mayor that she answers to. So technically, she's got 5 bosses. We have influence into those 5 bosses through our neighborhood associations and this. So I asked her to come tonight, just kind of give a quick overview. You know, she just started this week.
1 weekend tomorrow.
1 week tomorrow, okay. So she's, you know, got her plate full and everything, but kind of just give us a quick roadmap of what she sees happening in maybe next 90 to 120 days. And let us know how we can help you.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. President. And past president and former president. It is truly a pleasure and an honor to be here this evening. I also want to give a shout out to my former Miami Beach colleague, Carlos Lang. I've heard so much about this group, and I had an opportunity to meet so many of you before I actually became city manager, and I am elated. Although I'm just 1 weekend, I've really been around for the past several weeks, and I have been visiting the various districts, communities, neighborhoods. I've been meeting with staff, and I do want to highlight the staff who are here. If you could just stand. Thank you, recognize. Oh, okay. Yes. I want to say thank you to Commissioner Glassman for the support, and to the mayor and all of the commissioners for placing their trust in me, because it's not an easy task, but it's one that I am excited about and that I'm putting all of my energy and passion thus far. So thank you also, Mary, for your participation on the search committee in her absence. Thank you for seeing something in me. Thank you for the opportunity to dive deeper credentials, and I'll just share a little bit for the group. I come to you from the city of Miami Beach, where I served as economic development director, assistant city manager, interim city manager. Before that, working for the city of Dayton Beach over the CRA as the executive director. I've worked in other municipalities and agencies, including Miami-Dade County, Miami Gardens. So I bring with you varied experience that I think is very relevant to Lauderdale. Issues of development and infrastructure and the tourism economy, I think are very germane, and I bring a perspective that I think is beneficial. So in my first week, I've already recognized some opportunities, including the potential to generate revenue, because one of the issues on the front burner, as you may be watching the news, is our economy and where things are going. And so I'm taking a look at how we prepare and develop a budget. We're in budget season right now. We're also in the legislative process in Tallahassee. There's a lot happening. And so keeping track of everything and how that impacts the city is of great importance to me and should be to all of you. There are various projects that we have that are either in progress or that need to get off the ground, and everything happening with the economy can impact workers' cost in terms of labor and materials. And so I want to ensure that we have the right tools in place to plan ahead for the future. I am also very concerned about our homeless community, and I know Chris is doing a great job, but I think there's also so much more that we can try to do with our community partners. We can't do it by ourselves. Now, today, I'm sure you experienced some of the rain. And every time it rains, I am thinking, oh boy. How long is it gonna rain? How saturated is the ground already? How many inches are we going to get? And so our team is already strategizing on how we can enhance our rainy season and hurricane season communications, preparations, and response. We will be rolling out a multi-tiered operational plan, and we'll be discussing that at a future city commission meeting as well. I really feel like infrastructure, homelessness, development, and just those quality of life issues that everyday neighbors face, those are the biggest things. Thus far, I have been looking at all of the departments and their business plans, their organizational structures, looking at positions that need to be filled. We currently have a public works director position that's vacant, and we will have an IT director position that's vacant. So I'm taking time to identify the right opportunities in terms of talent and resources, whether outside of the organization or within the organization. I am focused on the police department's headquarters that is currently under construction, and I know our chief would love to be in the building. There's certain things that we have to, certain hurdles and challenges that we have to get through in order to get to the finish line. And I am a huge proponent of project management. That's part of my background. I used to do capital projects in the city of Miami Gardens. And that's an area that I think we could use a lot more resources and even technical assistance to make sure that we're able to manage projects efficiently, get them done under budget and on time. So I'm here today really to extend myself to you. I want to be a resource to you. I want to continue to be invited to come and speak to you all. But just know that I have your best interest at heart, and our teams are working hard every day to ensure that we're delivering the services as best as we can with the resources that we have. I think our budget process is going to dictate how we can be more efficient and what we can do to stretch ourselves, because I always think there's room to do better and I'm looking to you all to teach me, you know, those things that I don't know about your neighborhoods and about your districts, because this is a learning process. I'm going to be learning from you, and I think you're going to learn a little bit from me. So I look forward to the partnership, and I view this as an opportunity for us all to work together to make Fort Lauderdale better. Thank
Questions? About additional revenue options. Can you talk about maybe what those options are?
Sure. Well, I think as I go through each department, I'm trying to identify opportunities for revenue generation. So for example, we were having an agenda briefing where we're talking about items coming up, and there was an item related to an agreement with Broward County. And I was under the assumption that the city was already charging for film permits. And I discovered that the city has not been charging for film permits, which is something that we certainly can do. And so I've asked our cultural affairs director in our development services department to explore best practices for that. And so I view that as something we're going to implement for the upcoming fiscal year, because when movies get done on the beach or wherever, we can charge for that. And so I think that's a missed opportunity. So as I go through, I'm, spotting things, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe we can shave off something. Maybe there are programs and services that aren't well utilized, or, there's things that we can shave down a little bit, but there may be other things that we need to ramp up. I do know that based on what's happening in the federal government, a lot of our community-based organizations are facing some critical decisions. A lot of those organizations service members of our community, especially at the lower socioeconomic level. And I know that we may be asked to do more as a city, and I'm not sure yet how we will navigate that. But hopefully we can find some new revenue sources that can help offset some of our future budget challenges. And hopefully we can be good partners to the community.
I just have a question to come from non-board members.
Go, it's fine.
Okay. So you mentioned, congratulations, but you mentioned, homelessness issues. I know like this, up the street, that's a big issue. You go near the Terminal Bright Line. So it's been going on for a while. So I don't know what's the city's plan, especially with the new HB. I thought that would change in the Bright Line station, but you go there right now and it's still an issue.
Well, I think that the law is very nuanced. There could be homeless individuals that appear to be camping but may not meet the legal requirement for camping. And one of the concerns that we also have is from an enforcement perspective, and how we partner with the sheriff's office on that is an ongoing discussion. And I know our chief can speak a little bit more to that, but we're having some operational challenges in terms of how we address homelessness in partnership with the sheriff's office. And so my intention is to get a meeting with the sheriff to identify some opportunities for partnership that can help us address that in a more efficient manner. Because I see what you are saying, I pass it every day. And honestly, I've never been to a city where the concentration of homelessness has been this severe. And I think because of the fact that it's right at our front door at our city hall, so to speak, offices, I mean, it's very telling that it's a concern that we must address. And I'm concerned that we may not necessarily have the operational resources in terms of the budget and the officers to help address the situation. So that's something that we're also looking at in the budget development.
Very good. Well, thanks for coming in again. If, you know, as you, in your tenure, if there's programs that you're rolling out or initiatives, feel free to send me an email or whoever the president is. And you can have a staff member come and do the presentation, because I know you're so busy all the time. You're always welcome, but feel free to use us as a communication channel for the neighborhoods, for your office.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know we had a long agenda. We tried to keep it to 2-3 speakers, but Kayla from Dickey Consultant reached out because they're doing a survey for the urban forestry master plan, and it's time sensitive. And so we had to, I asked her to keep it about 10 minutes. She's going to explain how the survey is being conducted, and just a quick overview of the master plan itself and the process.
Right.
Oh, I feel like I'm walking up after esteemed leaders and I'm like, what's going on? So I will keep this short and sweet like myself. 3-minute pitch is the rule as a technologist, so that's what I'm gonna try to keep it under. Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to meet you all tonight. My name is Krishana Marie. I'm here with my colleague Joanna and my boss, Miss Dickey. And we are here to support the public outreach initiative on behalf of Dickey Consultants. We are honored to be here tonight with you in regards to the city of Fort Lauderdale to talk about something near and dear to all of us, our trees, our neighborhood, and our future. So why are we here? We are currently conducting an urban forestry master plan survey, which will be continued until April 21st. This survey is about hearing from you and our community and about the role of trees and our quality of life. Some of the questions on the survey are, how do you feel about trees? Where do you want to see more green spaces? And what do your neighborhood charm mean to you? And how can we create a healthier, greener, and more resilient tree canopy and future for us? So the progress so far, we have collected 348 residential surveys have been taken, and we are sharing the stories, the ideas, and your love for trees. And I will tell you, I have learned over 10 different tree species since this project has taken place. So I'm very proud of that for the tree lovers. But we have a long way to go. The goal is statistically that it will look really good if we have 500 surveys taken, but we have hit a threshold of 50%. So that is a really good thing. So what tonight we're encouraging you to do is just to take action together as a collective. One is we have our tablets here available. So if you have not taken the survey, it takes about 5 to 10 minutes to take it. And there's some questions about how you interact with trees or what kind of trees are in your neighborhood, but also some technical aspects about what would look good as a tree in your upcoming master plan. And the second thing we want to encourage you to do, if possible, take a selfie with one of your friends or colleagues in here, post it and tag about tree love and why trees are important to you and your neighborhood and what they represent in a charming factor. I learned a lot about magnolia trees, mangoes, and it's kind of the tree canopy that's needed. Also learned about that our local communities probably need some Wi-Fi and internet services. But spreading this word will help us reach that number, and then you could tag 5 close friends that you want to be active with that. So in closing, I hope I hit the 2-minute and 15 timer there. Short and sweet. Thank you for allowing us to be here tonight, allowing me to be in your presence, and allowing our team to be here to support and make this city greener. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I want to add 2 things, that we actually want to come to your neighborhood and actually go to events in your neighborhood up until about April 21st, because we have that length of time. So we tonight, please tell us where we can come, because we're coming. We need to be in your neighborhood at events so we can actually pass the survey, the tablets around. Secondly, if you go to the city's website, you'll see that we also have on the QR code Creole and Spanish, because we know obviously there are several people in our neighborhood.
About time, thank you.
Creole and Spanish, but you gotta go to the city website
About time.
and get it, and they can take the survey. So we just wanted to add that.
And I would encourage all the neighborhood presidents, if you have newsletters, put this information in your, immediately in your next newsletter.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to see 1,000 surveys.
Yeah.
Because this is an important issue.
Bill, can you have them resend that out again?
Yes.
Because I know I forwarded it, and I was just asking my neighbors here, we've all filled out the survey. So the fact that there's only 348 for this entire city of 200,000 people is like disturbing. So if you want us to blitz it again, you know, I think all of us will blitz.
You'll get it tomorrow.
Okay.
Is this on our website?
I have an HOA meeting tomorrow night, our
Yes.
annual one, so I could put it on each of the tables.
Ms. Dickey, this is on our website. It's on our website.
It's on our website.
Thank you so much.
Done.
And we can come out, you know, because if you have an event, then we can just kind of go to people and ask them to take the survey. Because, you know, it's kind of easier to do that. You know, we go door to door, but then we need to be united.
And look at you.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
That's a great thing. We
Very
need more
kind.
trees, shade trees.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we're gonna get on to council business, and we need to do a roll call of officers. Like should have taken notes.
Contact you this Saturday.
What?
No, JJ's not.
JJ's not here.
JJ's, and neither is Melinda, that's correct.
Okay, so those are the only.
But the
two.
rest.
Yes. And then all the officers have signed in. Okay. Right, and each representative of the neighborhood district signed in. Very good. Moving on to council business. Ask Mary Pelican to talk about a proposal of a bylaw change. And another matter too about something that this council wants to have neighborhood presidents code of conduct. So Mary, the floor is yours.
So this past year, we had an election. Every 2 years, we have an election of board members. And what we have in the bylaws now is anybody that's a board member or be considered for a board member, they have to be the alternate or the rep for their civic association. Not the president, the alternate or the rep. And what I see, and which, you know, I understand why, most civic association, when they pick an alt or a rep, they're thinking, is this person good for my neighborhood? Of course they're thinking that. But they're not also thinking that, gee, the council might need somebody to be a recording secretary or or something like that. And so what, and also I want to say, a lot of these positions that we have now have become very technical. You know, we use programs, they're very oriented, they're wonderful programs, but they're very, very technical. And you know, not everybody wants to deal with that or has that skill or, you know, wants to learn it or et cetera, et cetera. And then there's a lot of other people that would like to do that are not the alts or reps for their civic associations. So my thought is that we should change that bylaw more towards, and we need to like kind of, you know, firm it up a little bit towards any member of a civic association. Civic association has to be a member of the council that is in good standing with their civic association. You know, that their board says that they are fine, that is interested in a board position on the council should be eligible. So that's my thought. Does anybody have any objection to that train of thought?
And what the process would be is if we have majority consent tonight, then we'll appoint a couple people of the board or anyone here that's really would want to dive in to help change that one, to come up with some draft language, to change that
Correct.
particular bylaw.
So are there any objections to this train of thought? No. So what we'll do is just what our president said. And
He was responsible.
yeah, and we'll come back to you in the next meeting with the change of bylaws. And then the process generally, as long as there's no change, is presented then. And then that'll be what, this, where are we? It's April, that'll be May, then the June meeting again, and then we'll vote to change that bylaw
In June.
in June. Okay. If everybody's still good with it, the next one. It's also come to my attention from other members that we should have a code of conduct within our bylaws for the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Associations. And this kind of comes from, again, it's me sending the message, but it's not all from me. You know, there's been some bullying online of members by other members. And not members of the elected public. That's a little different thing, but I just mean members, you guys in here. So we want to, and there's been a couple other things too besides that. So we're going to put together a code of ethics. It's going to be very simple. Maybe not quite as simple as the 10 Commandments, but I mean, it's going to be, you know, a simple thing that everybody can understand. And general things like, you know, don't bring a gun to the meeting unless you're a policeman, things like that. But I want to get some of this, you know, get us on the same page as any other organization that has a code of ethics. All right? Any comments on that? Nope. Yeah, Frankie.
You have one clause, member of good standing. Should that be opinionated? Because I noticed in, what is a lot of their manners, they have a president that at her discretion, she decides whether a person is a good member in good
I know who
standing.
you're talking about.
Yeah,
And that's
sure,
an
everybody
unusual
knows.
person. And and so our thought was that the board, I don't know if there's a board of that civic association. The board mentions, let's say I have somebody in Coral Ridge that, you know, wants to be something. The board of Coral Ridge, that could be presented to them, and they could say, oh, yes, this person is a good person, and it's good standing, and write a little letter or just send a note to the nominating committee that, yes, that's what I'm thinking. Now, there's a lot of challenges with that particular person. First of all, they don't do any social media, and I don't know if there's a board in that, and I don't know what their bylaws are either. So, yeah, I understand.
Mary, I suspect that there are some other organizations within the city that have a code of conduct.
Yes,
Maybe you could use some of that
that's right,
as
the
a,
plan, I think.
as a plan, as a stepping stone to create one for the council.
Right, so if any of you know of any of them, let me know.
And it's also in the charter.
Yes.
Charter review.
The charter review, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm familiar.
Yes.
The city is trying to adopt one overall. And you know, the problem. No, still.
No.
Yeah, no.
No, I thought the code of conduct for board members and
Yes.
commissioners.
Yes, there is, there is.
Yeah.
You're
So-
correct.
But you can see how difficult this tends to get. But I do wanna, I think going along with what Frankie said is that it can't be just anybody. You know,
Right.
it has to be somebody that is appointed by either the president or the board. Currently, most of our organizations, it's the president who appoints the alternate rep. There are, I think, some that I've seen that it's board decision, but mostly it's the presidents who do it. And I think, you know, that's the responsible party, is the president.
Correct, and that's their bylaws, and we're not gonna make, you know.
No, we're not fooling with
Yeah.
anybody's bylaws.
So, I know.
Whoever in the bylaws is the responsible party, they're the responsible party. I don't think we should change that. I think we should flow with that.
All right,
Won't that be part of whatever?
Whatever the
draft-
words are, the draft, yes.
okay, all right.
I'm suggesting that we use a code of conduct that's already out there, perhaps as a stepping stone to create our own.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
And it's not going to be used as an enforcement, I got you tool to kick any neighborhood association out of this council. But it gives, if it becomes a problem, then it gives the council some authority to send a letter to that neighborhood board and just advising them of what we see as a problem from a member of their association, their representatives or.
I can just think of the whole code of conducts I had for employees
Yeah,
at Hard Rock, and there were like 20 of them. I could just use those. No, okay.
No.
Okay, all right, so any other comments about bylaws? Okay, so something for you all to look forward to.
Very good, and keeping the loans, at the last meeting, Jim Hensel was here, talked about developing a technology advisory, or not technology, a
Technical
technical advisory committee to look at buffer zones of neighborhoods from the residential for the multifamily, the mixed use, infringement of. After he got some names, and those are the names that are listed there, received a call from him that the city had decided to go a different avenue and not use technical advisory committee. That, so I took it to the board of directors here, and the board said, well, you know, that, even though the city's not doing it, it's not preclude us from having. So what the board has said is, since the city hadn't drafted anything, there's nothing for us to review or look at the present time. Once that's done, then this committee will start reviewing, and then we will submit our input back to the city, to the proper channels for that.
Can you give an overview of what the tech committee was about? Tech committee?
It was, it was because of the change in the ULDR, Uniform Land Development Regulation, yeah, you want to talk about it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I'm kind of piecing this together. So we have a project right now to develop form-based mixed-use codes on our corridors. So Federal Highway, Broward, Davie, those areas of the city. So my understanding is that when staff presented that at the last meeting, or the meeting before, there was a request for volunteers to be kind of a focus group or a group that would provide some direct input on what the recommendations from our consultant and staff were on that code. So we did something similar with our landscape ordinance. It kind of happened more organically with that ordinance, but it did work and it helped kind of get some community input from stakeholders that were interested and also experienced in that topic. So I think when staff came last meeting, their idea was maybe we could replicate that in some way, shape or form and get a group of folks that were, again, interested and also had some experience in these types of issues to help guide the crafting of that code for our ULDR.
Was a landscaping one, that was an advisory committee appointed by the commission?
It was not. Nope, it just sort of organically, no pun intended, kind of happened to form that landscape group. It was not an appointed board.
Very good. Any other questions on that? More to follow?
Do we know if they opened up that virtual room that we were waiting for them to open?
No,
No, it's not
No,
open
that
yet,
is-
okay.
once that's up, when Jim Hetzel, did the presentation, he talked about a website, and that website would allow the community at large to have an interactive relationship with the department so that they could help gather more information on what people want for that barrier between neighborhoods and the major thoroughfares like Federal Highway, Commercial Boulevard, Oakland Park Boulevard. The form-based code that Chris is talking about has to do with a change in the ordinance, in the code of ordinances, to develop those properties along those corridors for commercial use. The question is, how do you do that and still respect the communities, the single-family communities that live adjacent to or right behind those corridors? So that's the purpose of this discussion, and the idea was to get input from the community and from the council. And right now, that's been tabled as far as this tech committee goes. But as far as your question, Susie, the website has not been developed yet. Jim Hetzel will be sending that to me as a corresponding secretary for the council, and I'll put that out there. It'll be on our website, a link, and then people from this organization and your communities can go to that website. It's not a survey, but it's an interactive format, so you can make comments and you can say, I like this, I don't like that. So I haven't seen it yet, and I don't think it's fully baked yet, but it'll be coming soon. Because that effort to create that new ordinance or to revise the current ordinance is ongoing, and it's a pretty aggressive timeline to get that out there. Any questions? Does that help?
Troy?
I just have a question. I mean, this committee sounds like a great idea because that's a huge issue for all of our neighborhoods. Are you saying we're not having an official committee sanctioned by the city? Or are you saying, the city's not sanctioning a committee, then is this group sanctioning a committee? Because it seems like a good idea. Are you proceeding with that?
Thank you for that, Troy. I'm not sure it's better or worse that the city sanctions us or that we do it ourselves. There's pluses and minuses. I kind of like the way we're going. Rather than they appointing a committee, we appoint a committee because we don't work for them. We love them. We love them all, okay? And we think they're doing a great job. And I personally think this effort is very worthwhile and very necessary. But we are a coalition of neighborhood organizations, and we should put together our own group and respond to what they do and give them suggestions and constructive criticisms, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we're going in the right direction. I think when we see some actual substance to it, then we should sit down and we should look at it, the committee, and come back to the group with, we've taken a serious look at it, and that's our job, to take a serious look at it. And some things are good and some things are bad, and we make these suggestions, which you can then use in your own discussion with your neighborhood. Because it's a two-way street. It's like, we're gonna talk about it, we're gonna come here and talk about it, you go back and talk about it, and you come back and we talk about it some more. And then when we come to a consensus about, we like this, we don't like this, you're going in the wrong direction, the right direction, then we take it to them in a collaborative way and work together to see if we can't meld our comments with their proposal until we get to the sweet spot. That's the way we want it to work.
Elijah, and then
Harvey. Maybe it's just my first meeting, so I don't know what it is. Can you explain what this is, what this ordinance is changing for those of us that may not have had?
Chris, you want to explain how it is currently?
Yeah, so right now, there were areas in our city where we were able to, or developers were able to bring in residential units into non-residential areas and create mixed-use developments. So they're kind of your main corridors that you probably can think of. So Federal Highway, 17th, Davie, Broward, those areas. There was really never a form-based code. So the idea that there was some predictability for the developers, the neighbors, or you as a community of what those projects may look like at the end, we're really project by project sort of iterative processes to get from start to finish. So with things like Live Local, which affects those areas, with our the affordable housing amendment that the county adopted that allows for that residential development along those corridors and mixed use projects. We identified and the commission agreed through some funding for the project that we need to create that predictability in those areas for what that eventual development could be. So essentially what form-based code is we create a set of standards. It's not the same for everywhere. So talking about like transition zones for certain areas or character of Davie Boulevard versus North Federal. So those areas might look different. But what it does is based on those neighbor interests and what the community wants and what best planning practices are, we would develop a code that says, you know, the box kind of looks like this. And then you can design a project that fits in that box. So again, it creates predictability based on what the community's interests are, best planning practices, what those projects will eventually look like. It also creates predictability for the developers that are interested in developing those sites into those mixed use projects. Similar to what we have currently in our downtown area, our beach, our South Regional Activity Center, our uptown area, we've created form-based codes in all those areas. And there's design guidelines around that, so that at the end of the day, there's that predictability in what those developments and these patterns look like in those arears. No, so really, you know, our intent and the intent in a lot of these efforts aren't to change what's currently permitted in those areas in terms of height or setbacks or things. So there'll probably be some adjustments and things like that when they become a mixed use development, but the overall is to not necessarily downzone or take from property owners and what they currently have, but it's again to create more predictable forms of what those projects will look like so that the community is involved and has more understanding of what those future patterns may look like in those areas. Right now, for federal, we just say, okay, you're gonna develop to the standards of that business zoning district. It's gonna put residential in those boxes now, so we need to create more guidelines around what those things look like in the future.
Harvey and then Miss Nikki.
So this is like the ULDR base for commercial corridors.
Right.
And so that's basically pretty much how you're working to, but this also includes the affordability of the local thing, doesn't it? Commercial or no?
So it will, I mean, it's
That
just by
will probably
nature, and it
have
was
an
really
effect.
why we went down this path in the first place, one of the big reasons, because of things like Live Local, the Geller Amendment, because we knew and we're behind on these projects already come through the pipeline, that there was going to be this interest in doing these types of projects in those areas that were gonna be more, we would see more mixed use development in these areas than we were gonna see commercial redevelopment.
Last question.
Yeah, so my question was regarding, I wanted to know what corridors that were being focused on, and obviously, you know, Sistron Boulevard and CRA.
So Sistrun's already good. So for the Sistron corridor, we have our Northwest Rec zoning district and design guidelines, which is already form-based code for that area. So we're not getting involved.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
I'm thinking the
Yeah.
same thing, okay.
Yeah,
That's all right.
So the existing racks are what they are.
That's what they are, that's what I needed to know.
Okay.
It's pretty much federal highway.
Yes, yeah, that's, I just wanted to.
Thank you.
Order, please.
Okay, thank you. And Troy, did that answer your question? Okay.
So we are having a committee. Okay, that's
There's gonna be more to follow, and Chris, while you're standing up, that's a good idea. As many of you know, last year, Estelle Brennan from Riverside neighborhood. Yeah, oh, by the way, she had a baby last. And then Tom, what was Tom's last name? Andrews, he came and did that presentation with all those old skits when we had it over at the fire station about the trash and all that.
Right.
And then Riverside passed a resolution wanting to change where you can call in anonymously on public trash complaints. Betty Shirley from Pearl Point passed a resolution. And if you recall, the last meeting, we were asked to do a resolution to send to the city. And there was some discussion, so we tabled it till tonight. And between last meeting and this meeting, there's been some discussion with Commissioner Sorensen's office. And I spoke to Sabrina, and then I spoke to the commissioner. He would first thought he could change the ordinance. Well, that's not as simple as what he thought. And Chris will explain, I emailed the city attorney and Chris got copied in on some of that correspondence. So more than likely, the city attorney is not going, they can't change the ordinance because based on state statute. Now, Tom says they can, but he's not the attorney representing the city, and the city is the one that has to pass the ordinance or they'll get sued. So with that, Chris, kind of give more detail and more.
So in 2001, the state of Florida passed a bill and it basically said that city, county, municipal ordinance complaints could not be anonymous anymore. They had to be accompanied by contact information, name, phone number, address of the complainant. There was a really big push at the state that year to make it so that person had the right to know who was complaining against them. So essentially it said any code complaint could be anonymous, with the exception of those cases where there was an immediate threat to the health, welfare of I guess the community or the environment. So essentially what our city attorney's office has come to the determination is that really there's very little opportunity within a municipal ordinance case to meet that threshold to be an anonymous complaint. So to say that we can, as a city, can just say this type of violation in our code, we'll take anonymous complaints, isn't an option for us. Now, the statute says that if the code inspector determines that the complaint is an immediate threat to XYZ, that determination can be made at that point that remain anonymous. So it's not to say that there are never circumstances where a complaint could come in where the code inspector makes a determination that code complaint is an immediate threat to the health, safety, welfare of the community or the environment, that they could then cause that complaint to be anonymous. But to just say that, this section of code will be eligible to be an anonymous complaint isn't something that we are able to codify or put into our practice.
Have they ever thought of making it, that like a neighborhood association could make the complaint on behalf of the board, but not? Okay.
The threshold is that the person making the complaint has knowledge of the violation. So if one of your neighbors or one of your constituents, I'm not sure how you, your folks, but we'll call it neighbor, says, hey, my neighbor's trash cart's overflowing, or they have a derelict vehicle in their driveway. I have a tenuous relationship with them. I'm really hesitant to report on them, but I really think it's an issue. And you as a civic association president says, I will go, because all these are usually in the public eye. Code enforcement really can't deal with things that are kind of hidden or private. They have to see things in kind of the public space. So you have an opportunity to go and view that violation. And if you as the civic association president say, I saw it, I'm gonna submit it on behalf of my association as me, you can certainly do that. I mean, that's no different than if anybody driving down a street saw it. They could report that violation.
Brian, I know what you're gonna talk about, because I do the same thing.
Okay, well, our neighborhood, because we're 9 streets off of A1A, and it came back, it originally started with, we were probably one of the earlier ones to have tear downs. And so many of these developers, after they bulldozed, abandoned the property. And then people were coming off the beach and set up tents, et cetera, et cetera. So what we did was we adopted as a board that if any of our members, so not non-members, so if I get complaints from people that aren't paying their dues, I'm not obligated. But if it's somebody, and we're 90% signed up, even though we're volunteer, we have 90% of the properties. So we're very highly concentrated on members. But I have, as the president or the next president or whoever, has to make the complaint on behalf of the association. I have to go and see it. So, we're a smaller square footage. So I can go and see that, yes, there is a porta potty that is sitting in the front yard that has not been drained in 9 months, and you can smell it 4 doors away. So then I will make that complaint. Because some of these buildings have One house has been under construction for 6 years. They ran out of money, and so it's sitting there and it's abandoned. And it has a pool that has no electric, so it's filled with water and it's constantly in the rats and, you know, everything. So we have an official in our neighborhood that if we get a complaint to the board, that the board will file in with the city.
And I'm told the CBA membership that we would do that same.
Yeah.
Just send me the information, I'll go look at it, file the complaint.
So
I'm not scared.
It's a way to help drive membership for your association too. People wanna complain, but they don't wanna take accountability.
It's a good point.
I have a question about how public this information is. I say that because my neighborhood association has the same policy as the president. They send me a picture, they say report this, and then I reported it. And I've been doing that for a year and a half now, not a problem. And just this week, somebody came to my house and just started yelling at me about why would I report that, blah, 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 like I'm the president. He was threatening in my yard. And I'm like, I'm thinking in my mind, how did he find out? Does like the code officer, when they give the ticket, have to say, I'm doing this because Troy Liggett did it, or do they have to like go to the city hall and take the effort to find out?
So what we want them to do is we want them to file, you know, if they wanna know, we want them to file a record request. However, we have our online Lauderbill portal. If someone goes in there and looks up the record, they're gonna see that record of the complaint. So there's a couple ways they could go about it. A lot of times they'll say, hey, code officer, you know, at my house, who called in on me? And so what we want them to say is you can request that information rather than just blurt it out at that point. We'd rather they go through that process. It happens and we try to correct that behavior if it does occur, but our goal is for everybody to go through the proper channels to get the information about it. Now, I do want to say, Brian, you mentioned things like building code related. So when you look at the bill analysis, we took a decent deep dive on this. There's some footnotes in it that talks about this applies to municipal and county code of ordinances. So things like Florida Building Code, Florida Fire Code, the health department, statutory type issues for sanitary nuisances. Those things weren't part of the legislation. It really focused on municipal and county code of ordinances, not necessarily that broader range of infractions that somebody might want to report. And some of those come to the city, some of that go to other agents, some of those go to other agencies, but it seemed to not cover those types of issues.
But if it's your practice or your policy for your neighborhood that your association reports on behalf, that would take some of the pressure off of individuals saying, I'm so sorry, I'm the president. This is part of the responsibility of me having.
Yeah, your records are your
Yeah.
records. I mean, you know, you don't have to divulge anything.
So many.
All they have to do is punch it in.
Last question in the interest of time, Jim.
Yeah, it says your name.
Question.
It says your name.
Could you distinguish the difference between the water bill and the Fix-It app? Because on the Fix-It app, usually you put your name in, but a lot of times you will see a reporting individual is anonymous or a fictitious.
So they'll have to give it for us to pursue the violation. So things, you know, our main entry point for violations is Fix-It FTL or the 8,000 number. We used to call codes or use a code email address, but we've transitioned to the Fix-It app as our primary means of submitting those violations or requests to investigate. Or call the 8,000 number, which is our call center. You can also submit them through there. So once those get submitted there, they automatically go into Lauderbill. So that's really our back-end system for this. So our public facing is Fix-It or Lauderbill, but really anything's gonna filter in Lauderbill at the end of the day. But somebody could go into either of those forms and see who submitted that request for service. If they come in and give us a fictitious name or we don't have enough information to fix it, we either aren't gonna pursue the complaint because we can't, because it's anonymous, we don't have what we need. Or if we can reach out, if they did provide some legitimate contact information, we will reach out to try to get some information. But at the end of the day, we have to have what the state requires us to have.
Just quickly, can't you just put in, a president of the Harbordale Civic Association and not your name?
It says name, contact information, so we need to look at
Yes.
It's so long.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
Perjury.
I said one question, Jim, and I'll take your question and we got to cut it off. Yeah, I'm JJ Hanks. You can feel free, Jim will be around at the end of the meeting to answer your question.
Okay, okay, go ahead.
No, but go ahead.
I just want to know what was, how is it better than to stop the anonymous call? And with that give the whole neighborhood to see if this neighbor here doing this or something that's going on in their, right there next to them. How is that better that we don't be anonymous anymore to make the complaint? I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we accepted anonymous complaints. I was with another jurisdiction. We accepted anonymous complaints, but we give a mix. Some people were fine giving names, some people weren't, but the state passed this law and said everybody anywhere couldn't take anonymous anymore. So it came from the state level. Our code enforcement process is regulated by the state. That's what gives us the power to do code enforcement. So they made a decision that the legislature and the governor signed the bill to say we couldn't take those types of complaints anymore.
What year again that was?
2001, committee substitute for Senate Bill 60.
It had to do with harassment, I think. And people were using it to report people to harass them.
Right.
So that was what it is. My beef is that I think animal abusers should still remain anonymous.
So those go to the county. So like I said, you know, if it's not us, if it's
Yeah, but there was a senator who voted against that and I believe it changed. It can't be anonymous anymore.
So I want
Okay,
to
deviating.
back in because it's 8 o'clock.
Okay.
If you have questions, feel free to stick around and address.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. Very non-cool and, you know, one of the things is. Ordinance that supersedes.
Yeah, state.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, moving along, we'll try to get you out of here in the next few minutes here with the treasurer's report, Carlos.
Okay, we're currently in the final steps of opening a new bank account. Hopefully we'll be taken care of this week. Currently between 3 checks that are pending to be deposited, the money that was in the Truist account and in the PayPal account, we have $5,016. We have an increase of $423 due to memberships that have been that have renewed. We still have about 34 outstanding associations that are voting and 21 that are not voting yet, that are not recognized by the city that still need to update their membership. So please do. Currently, no sponsors have renewed yet for this year. I need to make a motion. So this is just paperwork that the bank needs. So if I can right now, I move the board authorizes Carlos Lang as treasurer and William Brown as president of the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Association to open and manage a bank account on behalf of the organization at the bank of choice, including the authority to sign checks, make deposits and withdrawals, and conduct other financial transactions as necessary for the operations of the organization.
I second that.
Any discussion? It's just an administrative process the bank requires, and we're changing banks, so. Okay.
Wait, hold on, Mr. President, on behalf of Jet's Pizza, here's a $300 check for the sponsorship for last year, and they said yes to this coming year. Perfect. So they're on board.
Good.
Excellent. By the way, folks, Jet's Pizza, every first Wednesday of the month, they donate 40 individual pieces of pizza to community court. Isn't that so back there?
Yes.
Right.
Thank you very much.
One quick thing on the website, I think you should need to update the website to say 25-26 dues, right?
Yes.
Okay, because it says on the website still 2024-2025.
Okay, so that needs to be.
Yeah,
Can you change that?
and we can just pay it online, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Okay, we'll take a look at
It's
that.
PayPal.
It's fiscal year.
It's our fiscal year.
Yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's essentially what it should be. Yeah.
Okay, so no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, very good. Thank you for that report. Approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes of the February 11 meeting.
Second.
Jim, favor, any additions or corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There it is. Okay, old business, any other old business? Any good for the community or good for the order?
Mr. President, there is, the May meeting is missing
Yes,
in your agenda. That day is what?
May 13th.
Thank you.
It's our next meeting.
Okay, next general membership meeting's May, next board meeting is April 28th. And then the social, I thought about doing a social at our board meeting on April 28th, but it's too close to get the word out, so we'll stick with the June, probably the June, do a social on June the 10th. Okay? One last go around? Well, thank you, everyone. I think it was a good presentation, good speakers.
Good job.
We'll be sending that out.
Just 2 meetings.